Hello, this is Keith, welcoming you to the 1933rd edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 5th of December 2013. The readers this week are Janet, Sally, John and Keith, with Robin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Ferdinand Bouillon and Harry Breuer, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include Chase Farm Hospital Fallout Continues and Duo Get Life for Teens Murder. First of all, special news items. First, here's a thank you to Sylvia Chapman for organising the pre-Christmas dance. There was a splendid turnout for the pre-Christmas dance at the Civic Centre on Tuesday the 26th of November. Although it was difficult to find a way in as the entrance to the car park was closed, once inside we all had a ball. A good number enjoyed the dancing and sing-along, and the entertainer, Paul Coleman, who kept everyone on the go with some really lively music. Daphne made an excellent speech on behalf of the visually impaired, thanking Sylvia for arranging this event and the warmth and affection they all feel for her. We know it could not be done without the support of her family, including her grandchildren, and her lively volunteers who make the occasion such fun. Thanks again, Sylvia. This was one of the best. Since the dance, Enfield Vision have had their Christmas party. It went very well. 70 people attended and the entertainment and food were excellent. On Tuesday the 3rd of December, the Merrion Club had their Christmas lunch at the Plough at Cruise Hill, and on this occasion the Mayor joined the gathering. What a good start to the festive season. A dance, a lunch and a party. The Home Library Service. This service is part of Enfield Libraries and provides a delivery service to people living in the borough who are unable to visit a branch library due to age, mobility, disability or their caring responsibilities. We visit each of our members every 4 weeks. The service is free and we will tailor it to your taste. For visually impaired people, we can provide books in large print or recorded books on CD or cassette. We can also bring music on CD or films on DVD for people with some vision. Members are free to reserve particular items. If you'd like to join the Home Library Service or know someone who would, please call 01992 716 010 and we will arrange for the Community Access Librarian to visit you. That's 01992 716 010. The Enfield Macular Disease Support Group meets on the second Wednesday of every month from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Trinity Church Hall, Gentleman's Row, Enfield, EN2 6AN. The meetings are open to anyone affected by central vision loss and carers are welcome as well. For further details, please contact Alan Newson on 020 886 5659. That's Alan Newson on 020 8886 5659. If you're experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and she will be pleased to help you. That's Diane de Jersey and her phone number is 020 8805 6578. Now Janet will read the first item of local news.
Two politicians vying to represent Enfield after the next election have clashed over the closure of key services at Chase Farm Hospital. Labour representative Joan Ryan, who served as Enfield North MP for 13 years until 2010, is standing for re-election against sitting MP Nick Dubois in 2015. After losing out to her Conservative counterpart the last time voters went to the polls. In her recent campaign leaflet, Ms Ryan pointed the finger at Mr Dubois for the downgrade of Chase Farm Hospital, which is due to see the closure of its accident and emergency ward on December the 9th, following the closure of its maternity ward last month. She wrote, "As your MP, I worked alongside the local community, health professionals, patients' representatives and my fellow Labour colleagues for 13 years to keep Chase Farm maternity services and a blue light accident and emergency department. However, a Freedom of Information Act request submitted to the Government Cabinet Office and subsequently leaked to the Enfield Independent suggests the former Labour MP had accepted the hospital's unpopular fate. The request to the ministerial offices asked for any records, minutes of meetings, of confirmation of appointments or written submissions, letters or emails between the Prime Minister and MP Joan Ryan in respect of discussion of clinical and emergency services at Chase Farm hospitals between July 2009 and January 2010. And the minutes of a meeting on November the 13th, 2009, between Ms Ryan and the then Prime Minister Gordon Brown state, Joan Ryan said that she did not want any downgrading of Chase Farm Hospital, but that she was tempted to bow to the inevitable. Although she did not want to concede on clinical arguments, she accepted that we had to move on. Chase Ward Conservative councillor Tom Waterhouse said, "What these minutes show is that when Joan Ryan said she was taking the fight of Chase Farm Hospital to her Labour colleagues at the top of government, actually she was conceding defeat. This is an appalling breach of trust and proves yet again, as did her role in the MP's expenses scandal, that she isn't fit to be our local Member of Parliament." But Ms Ryan told the Enfield Independent she never gave up, campaigning to save the hospital. She said, "This is a desperate smear from Nick Dubois, who wants to divert attention away from the fact that, despite Prime Minister David Cameron's promise to save Chase Farm, this Tory-led government is responsible for downgrading at A&E and closing our maternity unit. People in Enfield know that I never accepted the case for downgrading Chase Farm, and never gave up campaigning for a 24-hour doctor-led local hospital, as this document shows. If Nick Dubois has fought half as hard as me, Chase Farm would not be losing its A&E or maternity services. This just goes to show that whatever they say, you can't trust the Tories with the NHS." But Mr Dubois said, "I'm not going to engage in a war of words with Joan Ryan over Chase Farm. We've had a cross-party approach locally since 2010 in trying to save Chase Farm, and we need to continue that cross-party approach if we are going to get the best possible health services in Enfield. We need serious improvements in primary care, and I won't be distracted from that." Former leader of the Labour Council, Jeff Roden, said, "I'm not surprised by this news. She would have had to continue campaigning at the time, despite knowing its fate. To be completely honest, I think both Joan and Nick are totally incapable with fresh ideas. They seem to be so short of issues that they are campaigning about something on which they have no influence. The Enfield North constituency is one of the most marginal in the country, with Mr Dubois' majority standing at 1692, less than 3% of the electorate.
Two men have been sentenced to a total of 34 years in prison for the frenzied killing of a teenager in Edmonton 5 years ago. Onique Nembard, 25, and Jamar Graham, 25, were given life sentences at the Old Bailey after being convicted of the murder of 17-year-old Henry Belombi on New Year's Day 2008. Nembard will serve a minimum of 19 years behind bars. Graham will spend a minimum of 15 years in prison. Both were also found guilty of violent disorder, for which Nembard was jailed for 2 years and Graham for 15 months. All sentences are to run concurrently. Henry, who lost both his parents in the civil war in Congo, had sought refuge in the UK and was travelling home after a night out when a fight broke out after 4 men boarded an N279 bus in 4th Street, Edmonton. One of Henry's friends recognised a person who had stabbed him with a broken bottle the previous month. The bus driver stopped outside a 24-hour supermarket opposite Edmonton Police Station, and the brawl spilled out onto the pavement. One man produced a knife and stabbed Henry, who fled with his friends. The 4 men, including Nembard and Graham, gave chase and caught up with Henry, who was lagging behind. In Plevna Road, Nembard, Graham and 2 other men launched a frenzied attack, stabbing the teenager repeatedly, kicking him to the ground and hitting him with a bottle and a broomstick handle. CCTV footage showed that Henry offered no resistance during the 20-second attack. 2 security officers and a member of the public tried to help Henry until paramedics arrived. He was taken to North Middlesex Hospital and was pronounced dead at 7:26 a.m. A post-mortem examination revealed 13 stab wounds, at least 11 of which were inflicted by Nembard. Nembard and Graham, who were both 19 at the time, fled to Jamaica. They were extradited to the UK in January this year. Detective Chief Inspector Tim Duffield of the Homicide and Major Crime Command said, "With 2 suspects still at large, these convictions simply mark the beginning of the next chapter in our quest for justice. I urge anyone with information to call the incident room in confidence on 0208 358 0400.
The Mayor of London visited Enfield Town as part of a whistle-stop tour campaigning for the council to reduce business rates. After opening the new G. Mantella Laser Clinic in Church Street, Boris Johnson toured a number of independent businesses in Lancaster Road, alongside Enfield North MP Nick Dubois, pledging to help in their battle to get their rates bills cut. The campaign launch came the morning after Mr Johnson had delivered the annual Margaret Thatcher lecture, when he said cranes on the skyline, traffic jams and soaring house prices of London reminded him of the height of the 1980s boom years. Referring to how the same divide between the have and have-nots that characterised the 1980s seemed to be deepening, he said, "I don't believe that economic equality is possible. Indeed, some measure of inequality is essential for the spirit of envy and keeping up with the Joneses, that is, like greed, a valuable spur to economic activity." Despite appearing to endorse survival of the fittest free market economics less than 12 hours earlier, Mr Johnson was adamant on his visit to Enfield that more should be done by local government to give special support to small independent businesses who are struggling in the current economic climate. When asked why he was pushing for additional support for small independents in the light of his comments the previous night, he insisted, "We are going to have an economic recovery, but what I said last night is, I hope, it is not going to be like it was in the 1980s. There is a great campaign going on here, led by Nick Dubois, to help show people how important their high street is. That I fully support." Denying that the struggling high street was an inevitable product of market forces, he said there are 800,000 small businesses in London, and it is people like Mr Mantella who are the backbone of our high streets. They are the ones who are the employers, who will boost this economy. They are the lifeblood of our high streets. Joining him on the whistle-stop tour was campaign leader Mr Dubois, who chipped in when Mr Johnson was asked if shoring up small businesses at times of recession was the best use of taxpayers' money. He said, "We are not taking money from taxpayers, we just want to take less taxpayers' money away from businesses." However, Doug Taylor, the leader of Enfield Council, warned that any tax cut for small businesses would mean a hike in council tax to pay for it. "I would say the simple fact is we have faced in the order of £70 million worth of cuts, and I would like to know where the cost of any reduction will come from," he said. "Any reduction would have to come from an increase in council tax in order to pay for a reduction of business rates." Mr Taylor also refuted the idea that the economy of Enfield would be boosted significantly by giving tax breaks to small businesses. "We have calculated that welfare cuts have taken about £100 million out of the local economy, and the VAT increase has really meant people have less money to spend on the high street." He added, I would like to ask the Tories how much they think it would cost. The reality is they have no idea."
Here's another story about business in Enfield, and the headline is quite amusing. "The high street is for life, not just for Christmas." Businesses in Enfield are rallying together to encourage people to shop locally this Christmas. As many of the biggest retail chains slash their prices for the seasonal period to compete for customers, smaller businesses are uniting to keep Enfield's high streets busy. A campaign by a community group, Love Your Doorstep, has used an online hub to keep local businesses flourishing. The website aims to drive online traffic towards local business websites and put customers in touch with shop owners personally to find out what they have on offer. The founder of the site, Emma Rigby, said, "We did this last year, but this year we have put a massive emphasis on getting people to shop locally. Not just on a one-off day, but we want people to recognise that we have some amazing shops on our doorstep. We don't want people to click on Amazon this Christmas. We want them to ring our local retailers, look at our campaign online and our Facebook group to see what our retailers are offering, because these people are feeding local families and contributing to the local economy." Gary Kusalu, director of online platform Loving Social Media and Good Looking Optics in Jennerton Road, Enfield Town, believes this internet campaign can save the high street. He said, "Internet shopping is convenient, easy to use and cost-effective, but it is killing our high street. Funnily enough, though, it's the internet that can also save our high street, as it's a great way for local businesses to advertise themselves. However, one session in the gym doesn't mean you have big muscles. We can't just have 1 month helping local businesses. We need to support our local shops all year round, and Love Your Doorstep is helping to achieve this." Mrs. Rigby went on to reveal the scale of popularity that this campaign is having online. She said, "We have had more than 200 businesses join who really want to shop local, and we are promoting it via our platforms, which have over 6,000 people, and we are driving traffic towards them. I think people have got busy and don't have time to park and go in, but people need to know that our local retailers are here to talk to people in real time, and we can put people in touch directly with local shop owners who can take payments over the phone. Local shops will always go the extra mile for their customers."
There's a lovely picture here of a really scruffy black and white dog that you couldn't fail to want to cuddle. The story is, every dog will have its day, and that is certainly the case for one Enfield dog that has poured its way to stardom. 4-year-old rescue pooch Duffy has been cast in BBC soap opera EastEnders, delighting its owner Chris Mancini of Rosemary Avenue. She said, "I'm so excited about seeing Duffy on EastEnders, and this is the best moment of his career so far. He is in the programme for the foreseeable future, and although he has done adverts in the past, this is the biggest job for him." The talented 4-legged friend was signed up by his owner to Animal Ambassadors and has leapt his way to glory. Miss Mancini revealed how she came by her loyal companion, whose breed is unknown. She said, "He was a rescue dog who I got off the internet. I've always wanted a scruffy dog, and I've always wanted one like him. He's so lovely and can't get enough of doing tricks for treats. He has so many in his repertoire and is the best dog anyone could ask for." The dog will be part of the long-standing Branning family, who have had connections in Albert Square all the way back to 1993.
The plight of a 16th century manor house that has been left to moulder since it was gutted by a succession of fires will come to the fore soon. Broomfield House in Broomfield Park, Palmer's Green, has been falling into further disrepair since it was destroyed by 3 fires in 1983, 1993 and 1994. It currently lies derelict, surrounded by scaffolding and hoardings. Last year, Enfield Council submitted a £4 million bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund in a last-ditch attempt to save the Grade 2 listed building. But the application was rejected on the grounds that more needed to be done to show how the rest of the funding would be raised, and its current precarious fate is set to be discussed on the BBC's Inside Out programme as a follow-up to the 2003 BBC series Restoration, in which various projects competed with each other for the chance to have their particular scheme completed. One of the campaigners who has been at the forefront of the restoration battle, Colin Younger, is determined that residents should keep fighting for the old building. We need £6.4 million to restore the building properly, so if the lottery gave us £2 million and if the council was to give £1 million, that means we have got to raise nearly £4.5 million, he said. So we are hoping that this programme will raise the profile of the campaign. We are hoping that the Heritage Lottery Fund will be keen to give us money if we can show how we are going to bridge the funding gap. Mr Younger and his colleagues in the Broomfield House Trust are hoping that a wealthy benefactor or generous donor will come forward, and he believes that the project to rebuild the historic home would be the ideal way to galvanise the local community. We would love for community groups to use the space in a restored building for a broad range of activities, from dance classes to a small cinema. It is the ideal location for a real community hub.
Going to read a piece here from Jane Johnson, who is the commander of the Enfield Borough Police. We held my borough commander's commendation ceremony at the Dugdale Centre in Enfield Town recently. I was proud to host the event, which recognised the bravery, actions and outstanding effort of members of my staff and members of the public who actively intervened in dangerous situations to help us. It was good to see friends and family and to recognise the contribution of all involved. We're all looking forward to Christmas, no doubt, with preparations being made in homes all across the borough. At the police station we are making plans as well. We know that the festive period is a mostly happy time, but for us there are real challenges to keep the borough safe. We will be making sure we have enough staff on duty in the lead up to and over the holidays, so that we are able to deal with the challenges the festive season brings. We will be running a winter's night operation with a focus on reducing violent crime. This will mean officers out and about in the town centres and neighbourhoods, preventing crime and antisocial behaviour. Alcohol can spoil Christmas, whether through domestic violence, trouble in pubs and clubs, or drink driving. I would ask that you drink in moderation. Don't drink and drive, and treat others with respect. I'm worried about burglary over the festive period. Traditionally, burglars know that this can be a good time for them, with presents brought and stored at home, and families either away or visiting friends and family. Burglary is down in the borough due to very targeted activity between the police and partners. This is a sterling effort, but we do need the help of residents and businesses. Here are my top tips to prevent burglary over Christmas. Don't feed extension cables for outdoor festive lights through partially open doors and windows. Burglars look for opportunity, and this could be it. Dispose of gift wrapping and boxes carefully, as it's not good to advertise that you have bought the latest games console or a new television. Be careful not to advertise your home to burglars on social media. Studies show the burglars are scouring these websites to see when people are away on holiday. Finally, leave a light and a radio on, draw curtains at night, and try to keep Christmas presents out of public view. Have a very happy Christmas, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the new year.
People living in a private road say that they fear for their safety as the winter months set in. Bentley Mews in Winchmore Hill was built 13 years ago, but developers failed to put lighting into the road, much to the concern of resident Theo Sava. The road is not owned by the Enfield Borough Council, which means that those who live in the Mews must pay to keep it clean and install their own streetlights. Mr Sava has trawled through early development plans of the site and noticed that lighting was proposed for the site but was never built. He said, "We maintain the road ourselves, but the real big issue is the lighting. We were passed from pillar to post with this, and it's not fair. The road is not safe. The winter months are now drawing in, and when my children come home from school, they're at risk. There's a long walkway up to the houses, and that is the stretch where I fear for our safety, as it's pitch black at night. I've seen it on quite a few occasions that groups of youths come on the road to drink and smoke because they know it's dark and they can get away with it. That's something which scares us all. We want our road to be adopted by the council, but I'm told I haven't got much chance. We pay our council tax and keep the road clean, but to feel safe we need lighting and to stop being a private road. The Winchmore Hill man would have to pay more than £10,000 to install street lighting, something he says is not feasible." He added, "The council quoted us thousands of pounds to install the lighting. We were originally told by a councillor that the council would pay the connection charge, which was just under half the overall fee, but when we came back to confirm that that was happening, we were never given a response from them. Now the price has increased and we just can't afford it. An Enfield Council spokesperson said, Enfield Council will not be adopting Bentley Mews because the road does not meet the Council's high standards in terms of construction and layout. The Council will generally only take on responsibility for roads that are of general use to the public at large. Bentley Mews is a short cul-de-sac serving just 3 properties, and it's not right that Enfield taxpayers should pay for its maintenance. Residents would have been aware when choosing to buy property in Bentley Road, and they would have to pay for the upkeep of their road.
A loud cry marked the birth of the first baby at the new maternity unit at North Middlesex University Hospital, with the first twins arriving soon afterwards. Little Oliver Suda made history on Thursday, November the 21st, when he came into the world weighing £6 12 ounces after a 4-hour labour. His proud mother Dita and delighted dad Thomas were over the moon at the arrival of their son. Mrs. Suda from Enfield said, "I do not have the words to describe this. This has been an unbelievable experience. The midwives were so wonderful, and I have my beautiful little boy with me in this amazing room. My daughter was born in the old hospital, and that was a lovely experience, but this is incredible. We are so happy." The maternity unit is part of an 80 million expansion at the hospital, and Oliver is the first of an extra 1,800 babies a year expected to be delivered there, bringing the total number of births to 5,500. Oliver is the couple's 3rd child, with sister Frederica born at the hospital's old maternity unit in 2011. Mrs. Suda said the experience at the hospital was better than in a private American hospital. He said, "We had the best health insurance around and went to the hospital in Boston to have our first child, but the experience here at the North Mid is comprehensively better. We would recommend anyone to come here and have their baby. This is the best hospital around, and we are overwhelmed by what we have experienced in this new maternity unit. It has been perfect. Our little boy has great timing." Soon after baby Oliver was born, the first set of twins to be born in the new maternity unit came into the world.
The streets of Enfield were filled with lights as the annual parade to mark the beginning of the festive season came to town. The Parade of Lights concluded a weekend of festivities in Enfield town, which included street performers and live music in the Market Square, organised by the Enfield Business and Retailers Association. Members of the Scouts, theatre companies and dance troupes took part in the parade, which began outside the Civic Centre in Silver Street and headed along Baker Street to Lancaster Road, along Chayside and through Enfield town to the Christmas tree situated at the junction of London Road and Church Street. After the parade, the Mayor of Enfield, Tawdry Anwar, turned on the Christmas tree lights before a carol service led by a choir from St Anne's Catholic High School for Girls and a fireworks display sponsored by the Retailers Association, G. Mantella and McDonald's. Town Centre Manager Mark Rudling said, "The whole weekend was a huge success. It brought additional people into the town, the shops were all busy, and there were smiles on so many faces, especially on Saturday with the street acts. It was so nice to be able to go to the town centre to do your shopping. It's a great atmosphere that gets you in the Christmas spirit, which is something you don't get when you shop online."
We have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape.